I finally did it. I got a new microphone. I don't know what took me so long, but it's here. It's better. It's not the best, but it's better. So let's get started. I'm going to share something with you. These are questions I get every single day. Sarah, how can I work in Switzerland as a foreign doctor? Sarah, how does the system work? Sarah, how do I apply? Sarah, do I need to restart specialty training? Sarah, which language do I need to learn? Sarah, where do I apply? Sarah, how do I even know what to apply to? Hi. My name is Sarah. After graduating from King's College London in the UK, I moved to Switzerland where I'm currently training as an internal medicine resident. I make videos about life as a doctor in Switzerland and tell you everything that I wish I knew before moving here to make your journey as smooth as possible. Back to the questions. It's a lot, isn't it? Don't worry, we're going to cover all of this together. We're going to talk about how to start your medical journey in Switzerland as a foreign doctor, and I'm going to include a real life example at the end. Now, there's going to be one assumption in this video and one only. The assumption is you've already gotten your degree recognized, or at least you know exactly what you need to do for that. We're not going to be covering that topic in this video, but if you're interested, there is a whole video for you to look at, which I will link somewhere here. Okay, so let's go through this in order. Number 1, degree recognition. We've moved past that. Number 2 is going to be language. This is actually a -1 situation because you need to start learning the language before you apply to MEBICO for your degree recognition. Now, there are 4 main languages in Switzerland: German, French, Italian, and Romansh. If you're starting from scratch, I would strongly recommend learning German because then you'll be able to talk to about 70% of the population. If you pick French, that'll be about 20%, Italian 8%, and Romansh, we'll just forget about it because it's 2%. To get your degree recognized and to work in Switzerland, you need a minimum of a B2 level. However, in most hospitals, and in particular big university hospitals, you'll need a minimum of a C1 level. Okay, that's languages out of the way. It's pretty much everything you need to know to get started here. And by the way, if you've picked French, I've made a whole video of how to actually run a medical consultation in French with your patient, covering really all the basics and key phrases you need to know. And I'll share the link somewhere above here. Right, we've gone through 2 steps. Now it's understanding the Swiss medical system. We're not going to go through the history and the detail because this really will make the difference between you applying strategically and getting the specialty degree of your choice. The first thing you need to understand about the Swiss system is that there is no centralized system. There's no residency program like in the US or in the UK. That's not entirely true. There are a few exceptions which we'll talk about later, but generally speaking, there is no residency program. So how do you even know what's required to get your specialty degree? The answer lies with the ISFM. ISFM stands for l'Institut Suisse pour la formation médicale postgraduée et continue. So essentially, they're in charge of postgraduate training or your residency training, whatever you want to call it, as well as who gets the FMH. FMH is synonymous to the specialist title, but it stands for Fédération des médecins suisses. Pause, don't panic. Everything I talk about right now, including MEBICO and ISFM, will be linked in the description down below. So don't worry about remembering, just try and understand the concepts and then you can watch this video later on, which is a good reason to subscribe actually. Bear in mind that the links will be either in French or German, so I would suggest downloading a translator extension on your web browser, and that way you can translate all the web pages and the PDFs, and it's a lot more helpful than trying to learn the new language by also learning the new system as well. Okay, so back to ISFM. So it is their responsibility to determine the number of years necessary in which departments, in which size hospitals, so A, B, or C, which practical skills are necessary for each specialty degree. Now, it's your responsibility to familiarize yourself with the process and really use it as a roadmap for your training. Whoa, wait a minute, Sarah. You talked about A, B, and C. What is that? That is an excellent question and actually a key piece of information that you need to know. So, A, B, and C. There's more, but let's just focus on the 3 main ones. We've already established that there's no centralized system. However, there's sort of a code that each hospital and department in Switzerland will follow. And this code is represented in letters. Each department has a specific letter, either A, B, or C, and so on. This is specific to each department within a hospital. So in one hospital, you can have a department of internal medicine that has an A category and a department of whatever, cardiology, that has a C category. This varies on a number of things that don't really matter, like the number of beds, the academic activity, etc., etc. As logic would follow, A would be a bigger hospital with more patient beds, more academic activity, etc. You could sort of imagine a big university hospital. And then C categories would be departments in smaller DGH or peripheral hospitals. So let's get one thing straight. The training in these different departments can be just as good. The pay can be just as good. The pay can even be better sometimes in C category departments. So why do we care? Well, we care because at some point we do want to stop being in training as residents and actually have an FMH or specialist title. And if you want your training pathway to be recognized for a specialist title like internal medicine, for example, then you need to make sure that it gets recognized by the ISFM and it abides by certain rules. For each specialty title, the ISFM will decide how many years in how many hospitals of whichever category you are required to be able to get that specialist title. This will make more sense once we talk about the example. Wait a minute, didn't you say that there were some exceptions with residency programs? Ah, yes, I did say that. Let's talk about it because this could be key information for those of you who are interested in particular specialties, which we'll cover. Some specialties have what we call a réseau or a network. The idea is that they will support you in your training program, and you can almost see it as a pseudo residency program. They will help you to make sure that you respect all the requirements for a specific FMH title during your residency program, and they will help you secure certain jobs to help complete your training. So how does this work? Well, first of all, you apply to the network. So this could be the OBGYN one or the anesthetics one. You get invited for an interview, and if everything goes well and you're accepted, then they help you throughout your whole residency program. For the rest of us mere mortals, we are on our own. Okay, not entirely. There is another exception. Officially, yes, it's very much solo work, the whole application process and residency program for each job that you have. Realistically though, not completely. There are definitely unwritten agreements which you learn about when you come to work here. Switzerland is a small country, so you can imagine that once you get a job in a department for a year or two, if everything goes well, you're competent, have a clear career plan, that head of department, who knows the head of departments of many other hospitals, will likely recommend you for your next job. That's definitely a huge help, and it would be dishonest to say that a foreign doctor who's just set foot in the country who applied to the same job would have the equal opportunity. And in a way, it does make sense. You've started learning the system, you've worked with people, they know you, they know how well you can work, so it's natural for them to be able to recommend you. To some of you, this might seem a bit unfair, but this is exactly why I say be strategic when you apply for your first job. The goal should not be a perfect first job, not in my opinion anyways. Ideally, you want one that is going to be recognized as part of your training, but at the end of the day, it's a first resident job in Switzerland. The hardest step is to get your foot through the door. The rest will be easier. You'll start networking and understanding the system better. When I got my first job, I knew so little. Definitely a lot less than you because I didn't have all these videos explaining this. I didn't even know that my first job could potentially not be recognized by the ISFM. This is thankfully no longer your case. Now you know about the ISFM, the FMH, the categorization of departments. What's the next step? There's no residency program, so what do you do? How do you know where to begin? Right, let's do the best thing we can do, which is use an example. Cue the example, i.e. myself. I'm currently training as an internal medicine resident in Switzerland. Like we said, the ISFM's responsibility is to break down everything I need to get done in order to get my FMH. I've linked the PDF below specifically for internal medicine, so you can have a look at this at the same time. If you're still struggling to understand how this system actually works, look at it as an à la carte residency program. It's like having a map and being told where to find the treasure. In France or in the UK, you pick the treasure you want and then you climb onto the bus that's heading to that destination. The bus will take you on the journey. It's not an easy journey, but at least you've got a ride. In Switzerland, you can see it as either walking or trying to hitch a ride. Both situations are difficult, but it can be good or bad, advantageous or disadvantageous depending on the type of person you are and your situation. I would say with the Swiss system, you do have more of a chance of getting lost along the way, not being able to hitch a ride, lose time, etc., etc. The advantage is that you can really choose the exact path that you want to take. You don't need to do a one-size-fits-all. You can prioritize exactly where you want to live, plan in some training breaks from 6 months to a year, which is completely normal, and apply to the exact jobs that you're interested in as long as it's recognized in the training. You'll see what I mean with this example. As you can see, for internal medicine, it's 5 years of training. 3 of these have to be in internal medicine. Makes sense. But for 2 of these years, you actually have a lot of options. As you can see, there's a whole list of different departments and rotations that you can be on that will be recognized by the ISFM for this particular FMH. So I could pick a year of cardiology and a year of psychiatry, and it would be absolutely fine. You could go for a year of rehabilitation medicine and neurology. Both of these training pathways, while different, are completely valid, and that could be an incredible advantage. This is not only great in terms of your interests and picking jobs you actually enjoy, but it can be very strategic. Going back to me, let's say I want to do cardiology and psychiatry as 2 of my optional years. I can therefore start by applying for the easiest level entry job to get my foot through the door in Switzerland and then work my way up to getting the rest. This can increase my chances of getting my first job astronomically. And this is what I mean by strategic applications. As you can see, there's a lot of scope to personalize it to you and your journey. And we go into a lot more detail about strategic applications and how you can tailor the training program to best fit you. So if you're interested at all, have a look at the link below. Back to job strategies. So So, like we said, you want to pick the easiest level entry job to get into. You will then build your way up to the Category A hospital in internal medicine, which is typically where you'll find the bottleneck for this specialist degree. Compare that to another version of you who doesn't have this information, who, without knowing the system, applies reasonably to big university hospitals that they've heard of that happen to be Category A hospitals. That person then doesn't understand why they're getting rejections. This is bearing in mind that even for Swiss candidates who've grown up in this system, Category A hospitals usually require about a year or two of experience in the country before being able to join the team. This allows you to get to know the system and also get some clinical experience. So starting with a Category B or C hospital allows you easier entry, but then also allows you to understand the system and gain some clinical experience. It can completely change how you apply and what your chances are. This is the unfair advantage as far as I'm concerned. It's the knowledge advantage. It can make all the difference, and there's a lot of these. It's hard to know your blind spots. You don't know what you don't know when you move to a new country. That's completely normal. My aim with these videos is to share these with you guys so that you've got the best shot for getting the job that you want. So make sure you subscribe. Right, so let's finish off this example. So I've looked at the ISFM PDF. I know exactly what I need to get done. The order in which I do it doesn't really matter as long as it doesn't specify in the PDF. I'm highlighting this because in certain specialties it does actually matter. So let's say I decide to start with a psychiatry job. So in this case, you'd have to apply independently for your first psych job. You go through that year, and at the end, you've got an evaluation with the head of department and you get your ISFM logbook signed. This will happen at the end of each job, and you will collate these in your logbook like infinity stones. Once you have them all, you then send your logbook to the ISFM, who will then cross-check all of it before granting you your FMH specialty degree. End of story, and you live happily ever after. I know you might have a lot of questions branching out from this information I've given you. For example, how do you find the list of hospitals? Yes, some departments are actually not recognized by the ISFM. How do you actually apply? Don't worry, we can cover all of this. Drop your comments and questions down below. I'll group them into themes and do my best to cover them step by step. Also, if you'd find it helpful to have A to Z concrete examples of theoretical candidates applying from different countries with different contexts, let me know, because sometimes actually having real examples helps make the information sink in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!